Hello, everyone, and welcome to the last unit of the year, Unit 8, From Collective to Action. And you might remember that Unit 7 was titled From Individual to Collective. We are working our way up from looking at homegoing as a model for action to actually committing to collective action ourselves. So we've been building to this moment longer than just homegoing. Since the very beginning of the year, we've been working through these 4 domains, reading text. I have the junior text here also. I copy pasted this from another presentation. We've been working through all of these domains in order to better contextualize and literally prepare ourselves with skills and concepts in order to take meaningful action on an issue that matters to us. The way that we're going to be synthesizing English and social justice concepts and standards will be with this action project. This is the final for this course, essentially, the last thing that you'll be doing for English this year. So let's take a look at the action project and in correlation with this unit. So we've gotten through issues and goals. Cool. We've gotten through research. Nice. So today we are starting planning. And from now on, we'll be considering the essential questions for this unit more carefully. So how can empathy become action? Right? We've been thinking about this with homegoing a lot. How exactly can we move from a sense of empathy and concern to a sense of responsibility? How can we get ourselves and other people to do things that we care about? How can the individual generate collective change? When we're considering the pyramid of action, how do we move from a single education, educating ourselves, to educating others, to agitating others, to organizing others to cause collective change? How can we wield privilege to create equity? We all have varying degrees of privilege. We are all simultaneously with and without privilege. How do we use the privilege that we do have to create equity? To level the playing field, as it's called, to make social change. And how can ELA, English Language Arts, be made real world to advance social justice? We've been using a lot of these skills. More recently, we've been taking these skills and applying them outside of the text to ourselves, to the world, in reflection. And now we're going to really take it all the way. We're going to use these skills in application in a different context, not even the English classroom anymore, but whatever issue you've chosen is now the context for the application of these skills. So how can we make English real world to advance social justice or to advance whatever action project you're advancing? So let's go ahead and talk about planning. I am deliberately not going to tell you everything about planning today. Instead, there are going to be mini videos in the future to describe pieces and pieces of this main big organizer, right? Because I don't want to overwhelm you. Okay, so those mini videos will explain it part by parts, but you really only have to be concerned with what takes place on mini deadlines, as they're called, mini deadlines. So there will always be some sort of organizer for every phase of the action project, and the folders are now colored according to whatever phase of the action project that we're in. Okay, so our planning folders will be yellow. Okay, and we will finish planning. Our last day of planning will be next week, next Tuesday. So let's take a look at the planning organizer. You only need one per group. You're not submitting anything. I only make it an assignment so that you could create a copy of this doc and so that I could see the copy of the doc that you create. So don't submit here. Your group will submit to the mini deadline, right? You'll choose one person in your group to submit. This is how you share a doc. There's a GIF here explaining how to share a doc if you forgot how, but only one of you needs to make it and only one of you needs to share it with everybody else. And then you will complete this together. So this is the organizer. So you will be submitting this organizer to mini deadlines, mini deadline assignments in Schoology. That way I essentially get a snapshot of whatever you had completed by the time you made that submission, because it would just be too complicated for all of us if I had to go in and click your edit histories and take a look at it that way. Okay, so submitting to these mini deadlines is how you get that snapshot. Okay, so let me show you how all our organizers will essentially be organized. There are links to get to different parts of the doc. If you're like, oh, what's evidence of goal achieved? Boop. Oh, this is what it is. Nice. And each one of these components of the organizer is due on a separate day. All you have to do, let's say that you and your group finish revised goal and evidence of goal achieved. Nice. You click this link and then you can submit it here. And then you'll just submit this version of the organizer when you're done. I have here directions for submitting a Google Doc from your Google Drive if you don't know how to do that either. So again, your group only needs to submit one. Ideally, your group is completing this as together and simultaneously as possible. So you should be, as much as you can, on some sort of group call, group text, group chat thing at the same time together when you are working on this organizer. This should be as much of a group effort as possible. If that means you have to schedule a time to sit down and do it, then so be it. That's what you're going to do if that makes you feel more comfortable. Okay, so today, for this video, I'm only going to talk about revised goal and evidence of goal achieved. Super easy. It's the only thing due today. All you got to really do is copy and paste the revised goal from your research and inquiry organizer and revise it. Make sure it's measurable, relevant, and attainable, and specific, time-based, whatever. Make it that if need be, if it isn't already a SMART goal. Okay, and then the new element for today is to consider, how will you know your goal is achieved? What is the evidence that you are going to be looking for that will prove that your goal is achieved, right? We don't want our goals to be lofty or dreamy or loosey-goosey. We should be able to we should be able to point out something, a product of our action, and say, yep, that is the clear evidence that our action project was successful, or it got this close towards success, okay? And here are some questions again, essentially what I just said. How will you know when your goal is achieved? What evidence do you need? How will you measure that evidence? You need to pick out something, a set of things perhaps, to show that your goal is achieved. If your goal is to educate people about an issue, perhaps the evidence of goal achieved means you need pre-assessment data and post-assessment data, and the post-assessment should show higher scores than the pre-assessment, and you want them to be higher at all. Boom, right? To some sort of specific evidence of goal achieved. This will set you up to do the rest of planning. Because essentially what you're doing is taking the evidence that you want of your goal having been achieved, and you're going to backwards plan from there. How do we get to our goal being achieved? Well, what's the second to last thing we need to do? What's the third to last thing we need to do? And that's how you'll figure out what your plan is. Okay? So that's all you need to do for today, but I highly suggest that you start looking at the action plan steps for today, okay? The steps are indeed due on I changed that. Yep, good thing I'm making this video now, yes. On Friday, I wanted to give you more time. Changing on the fly. Yes, the 27th. Yes. Okay. So even though the steps are due on Friday, I think that you might need 2 days to start thinking about them lightly or casually. So go ahead and start watching that video for Friday today or tomorrow, Thursday. But don't wait until Friday to start the steps, or you'll feel rushed. Right? You might feel rushed if you start Friday. Okay. So start early. All you really have to do, that's due for today, is the revised goal and evidence of goal achieved. Once you have this written out, all you got to do is click this link, submit this version of the doc, boop, and that's how I get the snapshot. It'll turn it into a doc or PDF, whatever, for me. It won't be a live Google Doc. Okay, I think that's it for today. If you haven't already scheduled a meeting with me, make sure you do that, because you need to meet with me by this Friday. If you want more information, if you want a video walking you through this, I talked about it on Tuesday. Alrighty, that's all there is for today. I'll see you later.